TJ, welcome to Whistle Talks. Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here, Kayla.
Before we talk about the topic today, which is a beta and pilot deep dive, could you please introduce yourself, speak about how you got into GTM, how you started working with startups, and a little bit about your business that you've created?
Sure. Yeah, by way of introduction, I'm TJ Allison. I'm a coach and consultant specifically for pre-seed and seed stage founders. I got into go-to-market and sales right out of university. I was lucky to get a job at DocuSign when they were still a growth stage company. And then I worked at several other early stage businesses. Like I guess the exception to that was Google, but I also worked at Google in that time frame. So yeah, I had a couple A to B and then B to C series companies across a variety of SaaS industries. And three out of the four of those businesses that I worked at had some form of exit. And so I got to see what good looks like. And in one in particular, I was the first salesperson. I had been hired reporting directly to the CEO, and I had to take his very technical vision pitch that was used to close network deals, intros from investors and his own relationships. And I had to change it. I had to make it something that I could say with some authenticity and that other people could say and that we could build a playbook around. When I set out to go start my own business, that experience of having to take his pitch and evolve it really stood out to me as something I thought that other founders and businesses probably struggled with. And so that's what I started my business around, was helping founders evolve their pitches into something that somebody else could action on and that other salespeople could take and run with successfully.
Could you speak about the differences in testing new products and services, going to market, and talking about the difference between beta, pilot, and design partnership?
Yeah, absolutely. For those that don't know and maybe listening, the betas, design partnerships, and pilots are all essentially on this continuum of try before you buy and possibly even have influence over the product roadmap of what's being created. So they're all typically things that are employed and used in early stage businesses, service businesses, a- agencies, but certainly software companies to de-risk the buying process for the buyer. If you sit in the shoes of a buyer of software or services, if there's a new business or it's a service, it's a new service that you haven't interacted with before, they're going to say like, hey, how do I know this works? Or how do I know your business is going to be around enough to service my actual needs? And so
Yeah.
to go back to your original question, a design partnership is typically an unpaid agreement where a company will spend a lot of time receiving feedback from a potential customer and they'll actually build the product to their needs or specification. Now, of course, they don't do everything that the prospect wants, but they're essentially an incredibly important source of feedback for the product roadmap. And in exchange, they typically will get access to the product for free and they get to shape what it actually does. A beta is when typically a business with a larger TAM, they could be an SMB business, they could be a B2C business, will have an already functioning product and they will open up access to an early set of users. Video game companies do this also. They open up access to a game when it still has tons of bugs and issues. And in exchange for having a ton of users pour in and give a bunch of feedback, they get to play it for free. The same thing happens in software. Betas and design partnerships are pretty similar because they're really a way for users and prospects to get access to something early and to get the benefits of it early, and for a company to get the feedback therein also. Pilots are a little bit different. Pilots are sort of a test or probationary agreement between these
Yeah.
two entities. In a pilot, the product already works. There should be pretty clearly defined success criteria. If we hit these marks, if we hit these goals, you're going to go ahead and make the full Monty purchase afterwards. There's a scenario where a business could actually do all three. They could build their
Okay.
product using a design partnership. They could do an initial test with a bunch of users using a beta. And then for really, really heavy hitter customers, like if Microsoft wants to buy your product, where there's a
Yeah.
big incentive, they could offer a pilot for them so that they could de-risk that purchase. But yes, betas and design partnerships usually occur earlier, and pilots could occur forever in the life cycle of a business. Now, you're very unlikely to get a company like Salesforce or Microsoft to sell a pilot, but other really large businesses like well-known companies like Gong, for example, would probably do a pilot with the right customer.
How can you refer to these three testing methods?
You call them interim agreements. What I recommend is three steps. One where we collect feedback, we give them an initial look at what it is that they've bought or they get access to. Then we do an assessment. We take their feedback in and we see, hey, what needs to change? Does our scope needs to change? What needs to change for our product roadmap? What does that mean if we're interacting with a large number of beta users or design partners at the same time? Maybe we weight their wants and needs against one another, depending on how much opportunity there is, the vision of the founder, and whether what they want can actually be built. And then we'll come back to them and we'll say, hey, this is what changes from here on out. And then we'll deliver it. So there's feedback assessment, delivery, and then we go in and we close the final agreement. And one thing I often find is that founders underestimate how much benefit there is in creating structure around these sort of things. They sort of go in and they're like, all right, cool, we're going to show you the product, you're going to love it, then you're going to buy it, and the things are going to just kind of work out on their own. And by communicating with your partner, with your potential buyer, what the process is, it gives them a framework to follow along to. And that way, when you come around asking them for money or asking them if they like what's delivered, there's no surprise because you already told them at the beginning that that's what's going to happen.
And can we speak about pricing? What are some tips in setting pricing and when to sell things or when to, give things away for free?
Pricing is one of these things that every single one of my clients, these founders, need help with in various forms. Frankly, it's hard. You have a new thing. You're a new business. You have what we call, asymmetry of information. You don't have access to what everybody thinks that they'll pay. You only have access to the few, maybe 5, 10, 50, 100, 200 companies that you're talking to see what they'll pay. And everyone's trying to withhold information and tell you and not share their actual price with you. So pricing is really, really hard. As a general guideline, I like to say the earlier your business is, the closer you should be to like a 30 to 50% range of what a most similar competitor is charging for the same price. You're a brand new business. This de-risks the whole process for you. And right now I'm really speaking about pilots. Design partnerships and betas should essentially be free, but they should come with a predefined set of asks for the investment and time that the partner is going to need to include and the access that you're going to want to specific influential people that will have the right feedback. Another big mistake that founders oftentimes make is that they are like, great, yeah, we'll do the pilot with you and we'll show this and then you'll give us that and then you'll buy it. But they don't actually say like, we're going to need this many hours from your team. We're going to need this set of people. We're going to need access to these important people who don't have a lot of time. Like, can we get that in return for what you're going to get? So that's part of the quote unquote price for those agreements. And then let's say you're a later stage business and you're selling a pilot. Yeah. Let's say you know that your product works really well. And there's a business that's just very risk adverse that's saying like, hey, I want to try this out before we buy it. In that case, you can actually charge a premium to do the pilot because it's kind of a pain. It's a pain in your butt. Right? You're doing a small agreement that may not convert. Your team has to do all of the setup, all of those things. And if you go to your cell phone or wireless provider and you wanted to do a month-to-month agreement, they would charge you more. If you say, hey, I'll sign a 2 or 3 year agreement, they'll give you a discount. So in this same sort of way, you can use it as a negotiation piece. You can say, yeah, that's fine. We do pilots. This is the time investment required from your team. We need to have predefined success criteria, and there's a $10,000 initiation fee. We still need access to your team for a longer term agreement, but we waive the initiation fee, and the time investment can be spread across the whole year instead of a few months. That all being said, the right price is the price that your customer is willing to pay, and you've got to go out and have a ton of conversations to go figure that out.
How do we as a company sort of get these customers into not just being customers that are using this demo or probation and actually convert them into hopefully lifelong customers?
It starts with really understanding the structure and communicating that upfront. So when we tell them, hey, we're going to have this feedback structure, then we're going to plan. Then we're going to deliver and go live. They know that they're going to be having discussions on whether the product works, the value of it, etc. And letting them know in advance that they will be then given a decision whether they can convert into an annual or a full year contract at the end makes that whole thing less stressful. You don't feel like you're popping that question on them. I also recommend communicating the price of the annual agreement before, way before you even close the pilot, design partnership, etc. In this way, they already know what's coming, and you have this length of time to discuss the value. Ideally, you're going through this and actually in detail talking about the ROI of the product, right? And then it's all on the table. You've had these multi-month long discussion. It's also an opportunity to build a relationship. They don't necessarily need to be your best friends, but by the end of this thing, like, these partners should be at least like your professional colleagues, right? You should have some sort of relationship with them.
And
And then you should
trust.
be able to have a pretty bare bones conversation and say, hey, this is what you wanted to accomplish. We walked through the value. It looks like these are the different ROI drivers. Like, do you think this ROI analysis is accurate? Like, does this feel right on to you? And they're like, yeah, it does, or no, it doesn't, and here's why. And that should give a lot of context into converting. Essentially, with that sort of relationship and back and forth, you should know if they're going to convert or not into a full-blown customer. The story that I often tell to my clients is that sometimes you'll find you'll be scared to ask these questions because you're so scared of failure. But then when you go and you ask the client, they're actually more excited about the results than you think. It's always worth asking tough questions and getting into those emotionally more complex situations. They'll just make you a better business person and a better person. They'll make you more money also because you'll learn more a lot faster. Yeah. So you have an amazing opportunity here to, when you do pilots, betas, design partnerships, to do a few things. You can ask them to participate in an ROI calculation process with you in exchange for that work that you're going to do in the early access or discounted or free access to the product. So we can get ROI details. It's also pretty much table stakes to be asking for marketing rights as well. So to use their brand, to use their logo. So right then and there, you have like an opportunity where you have brand logo rights and likely ROI details. Now you should be able to go create amazing marketing material with that and go blast that out to your ICP. And when I say blast, I mean do that in a thoughtful way based on relevance and not just sending everyone crappy emails.
Okay.
So that's one piece. And asking about all those things up front, really, really smart, makes the whole close and the end of the pilot or beta like a little less stressful. The other piece is asking for referrals. What I tell my clients is to essentially every time there is any sort of good feedback is an opportunity to ask for referrals. That could be just like positive comments during your software demo, or someone's like, wow, this is really awesome. After you've created something, implemented something that they've asked for, if you've added something into your product roadmap, delivered it, and they got really excited, when they agree to become a customer, after there is a successful ROI exercise, all of these spaces are opportunities for you to say, hey, I'm so glad that you like what we're delivering. When I hear that, I get really, really excited because it gets me hopeful that we'll be able to grow this business. Do you have anybody else in your network that you think would benefit from this? If I were to send you over a few people, would you like yay, nay them? For the folks that you feel comfortable making an intro to, I will send you a ghostwritten note to go do that intro. Go make that referral process as easy as possible. The types of buyers that do these interim agreements, these early stage agreements, they're early adopters. They like being a part of the entrepreneurial process. And so they're kind of bought into you. They're bought into the story. They want to help you. You're now on this journey together. They've given you feedback that's helped shape the product. Like, it's almost like you helped build a car. We could talk about in another podcast, like creating a referral structure with incentives and like dollars attached to it. But these people probably will make these intros without that.
TJ, thank you so much for chatting to me about this. Really appreciate you taking the time out to join Whistle Talks. It's been such a pleasure to have you here with us. And yeah, we will definitely catch up in the future.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kayla.